Yes, hi. I wanted to say a little something today about addictive behavior. Now, a lot of people use the word addiction, and that's um, a, more of a general term, like a gambling addiction, or most often people think of a drug addiction. But um, what you actually need to look at is addictive behavior. Now, if addictive behavior is going to be repetitive behavior, the same behavior done over and over again, looking for a certain result which doesn't happen. So the gambler is going to go to the casino with all of his money, his rent money, his food money, borrowed money, whatever, and believing that he's going to win today, finally, he gambles away that money. So that's addictive behavior. He keeps doing the same thing. Now, remember, I said if a person has low self esteem, that is related, especially low self esteem related to this fear of abandonment, where then they could, I said, to look for behavior that that expresses your low self-esteem, because you may be doing something every day that expresses low self-esteem, and you need to change that behavior. If you know where it comes from, which is from your experience of being abandoned, say at 4 years old, the way I was, physically and also emotionally abandoned. If you know where that comes from, then you're looking for behavior which may very likely reinforce that. And some of that behavior can be addictive behavior. It's the same behavior over and over again, which is supposed to produce the result of you feeling good about yourself at last, but it never does because of the way you are expressing, the way you are performing that behavior. Now, I also said in my case, if your brain, even though I'm a man, okay, I look like a man, so my gender is man, and my biological sex is male, but I feel as if my brain is much more like the stereotypic woman's brain now, and so I tend to um, try to help other people be happy. And I recently read a study that said that's actually produces more happiness to try to create happiness in other people than it does um, for the person. Now, if the way you create happiness for other people is by handing over your money, the way I do, to the to the point where you don't have enough to do um, something for yourself, then that's a person with no boundaries. That's someone like myself who's acting like the stereotypic female, or even the stereotypic religious person or whatever, someone who looks for happiness in making other people happy. Well, if you don't have any boundaries, then you're very likely the behavior that you're exhibiting is actually self-destructive. And knowing where that comes from, you have to look at it and stop yourself from doing it. And one of the ways to stop yourself, I think, is to create a boundary. Okay, I'll help other people, but only to a certain amount. Now, in my case, if the person knows that I'm very attracted to them, so they lie to me, I want to believe it, so I hand over the money, even though later I figure out it's a lie. Um, that makes it really difficult if you have a your personality, your way of looking at the world is inclined to um, be helpful and all that. I'm certainly not religious in the Christian, not a Christian. Um, it's interesting. Let me go off on a little tangent with that. Um, Christians always talk about forgiveness, forgiveness, but if you actually look at the story, and of course, everything about Jesus is a story. It's a story that they created in order to educate people, enlighten them to some aspect about love. Now, the story is that Jesus is on the cross being crucified, and there are two thieves on either side of him who are also being crucified, and they're going to die. And one of them uh, talks to Jesus, and supposedly, according to the story, he sincerely repents what he's done. And so Jesus in, forgives him, um, acting in the place of God, he says. Although I've never seen God as a forgiving type of person. But anyway, in the story, um, then Jesus forgives the thief who repents. Now, he doesn't forgive the other one. And people, religious figures or whatever, or people will tell you, oh, if someone does something wrong to you, like in the past, they sexually abused you as a child, or they emotionally abandoned you, you have to forgive them. No, you don't. You don't have to forgive them because, first of all, they didn't ask you sincerely for your forgiveness. Now, you need to accept what happened and you need to heal yourself. But this whole Christian idea of forgiving people who aren't sincerely repentant, that's bullshit. That's an unreasonable and unhealthy expectation to put on someone, that they will forgive someone who's done something evil or wrong or bad or whatever to them. And even if the person doesn't show any remorse, you still forgive them. That's nonsense. That's really nonsense, and it violates the actual story that was told to illustrate what forgiveness is. Forgiveness, you're eligible for forgiveness if you sincerely repent, if you're sincerely sorry. But if you're not, you don't deserve forgiveness. So anyway, that can be one of the expectations placed on you, which you feel you're failing at, or you keep trying to forgive the people around you or the people who have abused you, or in my case, my birth mother. Well, she's deceased now, so I don't have to bother with her. But the whole idea that you expect yourself to forgive people who don't express any remorse. Some of them, of course, are going to have the sociopathic or psychopathic personality disorder that I discussed before. And of course, those people, the whole idea of, personally, my opinion is spending $50,000 a year to keep some psychotic individual confined in a prison and pay nothing to the victims, that doesn't make sense to me. Someone who has a determined psychosis and has no concern for other people and all that, they don't deserve to continue to live. So anyway, if the people around you are expecting you to forgive people, or you keep encountering these difficult situations where you're expected to forgive people who aren't really sorry, and people keep injuring you, and you allow it because you believe that you should be a good Christian and forgive them even though they have no remorse, that can go on and on and on, and the end result is very self-destructive for you. So you have to look at something like that, like Christian expectations, Christian in particular, expectations of you, um, or even if you're a woman or you feel that you're more interested in other people's happiness than normal men are supposed to. Like the World Health Organization looks at the qualities that are expected of a woman and calls them unhealthy. And it's pretty, you know, being more concerned with the happiness of your child than you are with your with yourself. That's that's mommy. That's not, the dad is out working, and well, I work every day at a job and I make money and I pay the rent and I put food on your table and that's all I need to do. Yeah, yeah, that's your limited view. And if you are involved with people who have these attitudes and expectations of you, you may be exhibiting this self-destructive behavior and a low self-esteem, because you can't forgive people because it's completely unreasonable that that you even should, but you can't do it, and so you feel bad about yourself and you go on and on trying to forgive the people around you for being real a-holes to you all the time. And you have to look at your behavior and see some of it will be addictive behavior, which is you do the same thing over and over again, expecting a certain result at which you don't get. You expect to go to the table at the casino, put down your money and win, start winning. Now you're finally a winner, or something like that. Or you expect to go out and drink at a bar and people will like you and you'll have fun and all that, and it never happens. It never turns out that way. So just be really careful, when if you realize that you have and you may have some low self-esteem behaviors that are really self-destructive. You know where they came from. It came from this abandonment. They came from this early childhood sexual abuse or some other kinds of abuse that you haven't properly healed from. You may be, every single day, you may be going through this behavior, addictive behavior, and you have to stop doing it. And the way to stop it, of course, is to realize where it's coming from. And also, if there happens to be someone around you acting as your voice, this voice of Christianity, of what you're supposed to do and all this stuff, or what you're supposed to do as the mommy, or what you're supposed to do as the older brother. Someone is telling you this, acting as your voice, and when you can't um, measure up to your own expectations, it lowers your self-esteem, and you go on and on. So I just want to talk about addiction, being concerned that, oh, well, I may become addicted. Well, yeah, to tobacco again, or drinking beer, yeah, again. But drug addiction, no, it's addictive behaviors. And remember, apparently Albert Einstein said, well, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, I don't expect a different result from my addictive behaviors. I expect when I help people endlessly, I expect them to care about me then, which they never do. So that's addictive behavior, trying to get love by helping other people, and then it never works out that way. That's addictive behavior. It's not, It's not an addiction in the same way.